Twisted Sister, Love is for Suckers. Honestly, I cannot think of a more perfect album to be the first on this channel. This is a band that was just a few years removed from being MTV darlings, near the top of the charts, selling millions of records, and then this album comes out and does nothing. This was the album that ended Twisted Sister, but does it deserve its bad reputation? In 1984, Twisted Sister reached their commercial apex with a 3X Platinum, Stay Hungry. They were ubiquitous on MTV with We're Not Gonna Take It and I Wanna Rock. The next year, they released the poorly received but still gold-attaining Come Out and Play, and things started to go downhill for the band. Attendances were down and there was friction, so Dee Snider decided he was going to work on a solo album. Turns out the label didn't want a solo album. Atlantic wanted a Twisted Sister record. They didn't think a Dee Snider solo project would sell. So what we have here really is a glorified Dee Snider solo project. And this is reflected in the personnel that you see on the record. Twisted Sister are listed as Twisted Sister, but you will notice that they're not explicitly credited as playing on the album, and that's because most of them didn't. As a matter of fact, Love is for Suckers probably has as much personnel from Winger on it as it does Twisted Sister personnel. Yes, 1 year removed from their huge debut album, then unknowns Kip Winger and Reb Beach have their fingerprints all over this record. Kip is credited as background vocals, but I would be shocked if he didn't have a little bit more to do with it than that. And Reb is credited as additional shouts and additional guitar on the back. That's underselling things to a very, very large degree. Album producer Beau Hill said in a recent interview that 90% of the guitars on this record were played by Reb Beach, not by Eddie Ojeda or JJ French. And honestly, if you listen to any of these songs, you can understand that that's the case. This sounds like Reb. This is all highly technical playing, not the kind of stuff you're hearing on We're Not Gonna Take It, where you just take the song's melody and play it as a guitar solo. This is amazing playing, and nowhere is it better than on the album's only single, which you can see advertised here on the cover, Hot Love. This is an absolute guitar masterclass by Mr. Reb Beach. The guitar playing on the verses is absolutely spine-tingling. I love it. This song is so underrated. It's one of my favorite Twisted Sister songs, and his playing is the main reason why. Also on that song, which is just such a delightful slice of 1987 pop metal, you can hear very clearly on the end of the song, in the last chorus, you can hear Kip Winger all by himself. These aren't backing vocals, it's Kip all by himself. Take a listen. It's glorious. It's Twisted Sister and Winger, and to me, that's a wonderful thing. Some people might not think those two go together, but I do, and honestly, Hot Love is the rock star of this album for me. It is not, however, the only song Twisted Sister performed after the year 1987 from this album. They never aired it again. That designation goes to the album opener, Wake Up the Sleeping Giant, which is pure metal, pure rebellion, pure Twisted Sister, one of Dee's absolute best vocal performances. It starts off slow, it builds, it's got a huge chorus. They do a really cool thing where you have the drums coming in on the 1 and the 3 and not the 2 and the 4. Take a listen.
It's time to remember, it's time to move on. They pushed it too far, they don't know what they've done. If it's a fight that they want, then it's a fight that they'll get. We never lose, honey, so place your bet.
That's one of my my favorite touches, but this is just a classic anti-establishment anthem, definitely aimed at the likes of the PMRC, who Dee had testified before the Senate against in 1985. Wake Up the Sleeping Giant is definitely the song with the most metal credibility on this album, but honestly, this is not a situation where Dee was a complete pop sellout and everything sounds like Hot Love. Love is for Suckers, the title track, Tonight, those are both songs that really wouldn't sound that out of place to me on an earlier Twisted Sister record. And let's be fair, Come Out and Play had some really, really laughable forays into pure 60s teen pop with Leader of the Pack and Be Cruel to Your School. Now, I love the video for Be Cruel to Your School, which was banned from MTV, but the song is largely a joke, as is Leader of the Pack, and I think those are probably to blame for the poor performance of that record and this one. That basically made Twisted Sister a joke, killed all their credibility, and Love is for Suckers is a much stronger record than Come Out and Play, but it has the reputation as being the poppy, soft Twisted Sister album. I don't think that's necessarily the case. It is not stacked top to bottom with absolute killers. There's definitely some filler here in my opinion. I'm So Hot For You is pretty boring if you ask me. It's plotting. I'm So Hot For You also takes the exact same pre-chorus as Be Cruel to Your School. Not really a win for originality on Dee's part there, especially in a song that's supposed to be heavy, going for that bubblegum kind of pre-chorus. Doesn't work for me. Also, Me and the Boys, One Bad Habit, a lot of side 2 sort of is where this album does earn some of its reputation as a hair metal pop sellout. Those songs are very bubblegum. Also, I Want This Night to Last Forever is just as bad of an offender, but it's so catchy that I give it a pass. That song is an earworm. The chorus has been stuck in my head ever since I played this album back again. It gets a pass. There isn't really a ballad, so to speak, on this record, but there is a slower, more romantic number, You Are All That I Need. Really, honest to God, great ballad written by Dee Snider. I think it could have been a hit if this band had had different promotion, had been on a different track in their career, if they'd had a big video for it, but there was only one video made for this album, and that was for Hot Love. You Are All That I Need, super romantic, over the top, but an amazing vocal by Dee Snider. I have to say, this is maybe his best album from a vocal standpoint, in my opinion. He absolutely kills it. This song, he just takes it to whole new levels. I love it. I've always loved it. However, it does bring me to a point, which is that there really aren't a whole lot of dynamics on this album. Even on that song, there really aren't quiet parts. It's just a more romantic, slower song. It's not differently textured than anything else on the album. This may have been done self-consciously to try to avoid allegations of selling out and playing to the mainstream. However, I gotta say, this album gets a little bit fatiguing the more you listen to it. The drums are 100% sampled. I don't think there is a live drum track from Joey Franco anywhere on this album. I think it's entirely samples, and while producer Beau Hill managed to find some really huge sounding drums to sample, it gets tiring when that's all you hear, song after song. It kind of loses its effect. in my opinion. The only song on the album that really is a change of pace at all is the closing number, Yeah Right, which kind of has a Bo Diddley beat going on. But other than that, it really is just straight through on this album, and it gets a little bit fatiguing, I have to say. Love is for Suckers was released in August of 1987, and it did nothing. Hot Love was released ahead of it with a video featuring the band performing without makeup and really not many shots of the band at all. Lots of focus on Dee Snider's wife in the car, some cool racing scenes, but the band pretty much gets as much attention in this video as they played on the album. Not much. Hot Love only climbed to number 31 on the US mainstream rock chart, and there would be no further promotional singles from Atlantic. They really didn't care very much about this record. 2 years earlier, when Come Out and Play was released, Twisted Sister were darlings at Atlantic, and you have this cool gimmicky cover shot by Mark Wise, with Dee coming up out of the sewer, and you've got an interior sleeve, nicely done, band portraits. 1987, you got none of that. The credits are on the back, and inside you get nothing. That's the state of where Twisted Sister was on Atlantic's roster in 1987. They had bigger priorities. So the album finally gets released. It only goes to number 74 in the United States, number 57 in the UK. Does not hang around on either of those charts for very long. Dee Snider does go on David Letterman to promote the album. That's a fun interview if you get a chance. But honestly, there was not much promotion done for this. There was a brief tour of the United States in smaller venues. It was not well attended by all accounts. And in November, at the end of that leg of the tour, the band broke up. That was it for Twisted Sister for 14 years until they reunited to play a 9/11 benefit in 2001. To this day, Love is for Suckers remains Twisted Sister's final full-length LP of all original material. They re-recorded Stay Hungry, they've done a Christmas album, but no full-length LPs ever again, since Twisted Sister, unfortunately now, is no more. So as I said, this album does not have a great legacy among mainstream Twisted Sister fans. It's regarded as a black sheep of their catalog. Obviously, the fact that it was supposed to be a Dee Snider solo album from the beginning, the fact that Red Beach and Kip Winger are all over it, and the band is basically nowhere to be seen. But honestly, I think this album deserves your attention. And Heavy Harmonies users agree with me. On that website, this album has an 88 out of 100, which is just as good as Stay Hungry. That rating is based on 30 reviews, and this is definitely material that's up the alley of users of that website, but I gotta say, they're not completely wrong here. I don't know if it's just as good of a record as Stay Hungry, but there's some really, really strong material here. It's not all killer, no filler, but this is a solid album. I give it a 70 out of 100. Love is for Suckers was reissued on Spitfire Records in 1999 with 4 bonus tracks, including Statutory Date. And just this year, Twisted released an EP of just the 4 bonus tracks called Feel Appeal, which is one of the other song titles there. I picked this record up for $4 sometime in early 2011, likely at Twist and Shout Records in Denver, Colorado. And I gotta say, if you can find it for any price, it's worth owning, be you a fan of Twisted Sister or an overall fan of 80s hard rock and metal. This is a good record, don't listen to anybody else. But honestly, tell me I'm wrong. What do you think about Love is for Suckers? I'm interested to hear in the comments. I'll see you next time.